Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. I'm your old pal Emac coming to you on a Tuesday morning with one Adam Ship, my money share, as we have a 3-game slate for the NBA, the National Basketball Association, beginning at 8 o'clock. Adam, the unbalanced Tuesdays and Thursdays are back. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm assuming the 3-game slate tonight will be a little bit easier to manage than whatever happened last night with, 10, 11 games, and probably half the relevant players on the slate ended up missing the game. So last night was a mess. This one should at least be a little bit easier to get through.
All right, well, we're going to jump on into this. Reminder, we do have the 24 days of giveaways. We'll get to that in just a moment here, but it'll be your chance to win a free month of any Awesome Sport premium package that you would like. And if you enter the drawing, and I'm going to tell you how, you will get to be in the December 24th drawing of the 24 days of giveaways. We are giving away 1 full year of Awesome premium content. Let's hit on the injuries, and then we'll let Adam take over here. We've got Monday and Tuesday back-to-backs. That would be just Phoenix and the Clippers. Those playing on Tuesday that are also going to play on Wednesday would be Toronto and Portland. We have a few injuries and lineup changes of note, so let me hit on those. CJ McCollum is probable with an ankle. He missed 1 game, should be back, but just want to remind everybody that he was dealing with that. No concerns, but we always have to think about it. Eric Gordon may be replacing James Ennis in the starting lineup, so keep your eye out on that. That will probably impact Gordon adversely a little bit, but we'll break that down when we get to that game. Marquise Chris is doubtful with an ankle injury. He has missed the last couple. He just really plays in garbage time anyway. Daniel House was re-signed. He was released a few days ago by Houston, but he was re-signed. It's a 2-way contract. They're going to bounce him between the G League and the big club and determine. They have, forget if it's 45 or 50 days to either they'll outright release him or they will sign him to a contract for the rest of the season. Eric Moreland was signed by the Suns, giving them some front court depth. TJ Warren did start on Monday. That game is still in progress because, of course, are recording this on Monday night. He is going to have some sort of minutes limit. He has been chronically questionable and in and out of the lineup, so who knows if he's going to play on Tuesday. Your mileage may vary, so no victory laps just because he played on Monday. Jamal Crawford was out on Monday with a sore knee. The Trevor Ariza trade talks are heating up. Of course, for whatever reason, that means the Suns are just going to continue to play him massive minutes. Devin Booker is doubtful with the hamstring. He has not been able to complete practice. They're figuring he's could be anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks away. DeAndre Ayton is playing on Monday night, but he has an illness, so be careful for his status on Tuesday. Davis Bertans is doubtful. He has been missed the last game with a personal reason, and he is. They're not sure when he's coming back to the team. Dante Cunningham should be back in the starting lineup. He's been dealing with a sore midsection. He missed 1 game. And then Kawhi Leonard, this is the first of a back-to-back. Toronto playing this one close to the vest. They have not said how they're going to handle him on these, and Toronto is playing the Lakers. Boban Marinovic started Marinovic. That would be Todd Marinovic, quarterback, USC. There you go, Spags. There you go. Boban Marjanovic started Monday. He also started against Miami. We'll see if we make it 3 in a row going against Jonas Valanciunas. But there's still a lot of information to take in with only 6 teams in our player pool, Adam.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff still to, I guess, parse out during the day because we have the Clippers on this slate, which that game's going on right now. They're playing against Phoenix, who's also on this slate. So 2 out of the 6 teams, with one of the late games on Monday night.
All right, let's jump off the first game here, and we'll let you get into the good stuff. We have Portland and Houston. This one is, let me get back to my screen here. We have the Houston Rockets favored at home by 6.5. We have a 220 over under here. Adam, we know that the Rockets play at the 3rd slowest pace on the season. Portland, surprisingly, the 19th slowest pace on the season. What do you got here? Let's start with one Damian Lillard, who apparently is coveted by LeBron James.
Yeah, I mean, he's expensive, but again, we saw him on a short slate. I think his last time out was a short slate, but we talk about it a lot that you can justify paying a little bit more for guys than they're worth on shorter slates just because you're paying for raw points more than you're paying for points per dollar. There's only so many guys that are capable of giving you 50 to 60 fantasy points. And Lillard's certainly one of them. Not the most appealing spot in terms of pace here, but Houston has not been great defensively. Lillard, of course, does have a monster ceiling. So if you can find the money for Lillard, I think that's fine. But unless, like good value opens up, I think that, maybe taking the savings and getting exposure to this Portland team by either going to, Yusuf Nurkic, who should get around 32 minutes here, or even CJ McCollum, who we know is nowhere near as consistent as Damian Lillard, but still plays monster minutes and still is capable of getting hot and giving you a monster game. So if the value isn't really that appealing, then I think maybe staying with these two mid-range guys as opposed to Lillard makes some sense.
All right. Looking at the front court, this one should be a fun little battle here between Capella and Nurkic. Both these guys have been playing outstanding on the season. Capella ticked down the last couple games. He hasn't crested over 40 fantasy points, but he had a nice run of 9 games where he was in the 40s, 50s, or yes, there was one foray into the 60s in 7 out of 9 games. That's pretty darn good. The last 2, he's been right around 30. He's played 26 minutes against Utah, and we know that is at a slower pace with Utah and Houston. And then he only played 30 minutes against Dallas. They both those games were losses. So Houston, a bit of a mess. They've lost their last 3, and they have lost 7 of their last 9. That is not good for the team we thought had the best chance of overthrowing the Golden State Warriors. You shading one way or the other between Capella or Nurkic, or is this a play in both scenario for you?
Yeah, I really like both of them. I think that the price tag, Capella's price tag back down to 7,700 on DraftKings is really just too cheap for him. So with Nurkic up to 7,500 and Capella down to 77, I would prefer Capella just because we can expect him to play more minutes than Nurkic plays. He's obviously very productive. So between the two of them, where they're similarly priced, I would lean Capella, but I still like Nurkic as well. You also can get to some value on Portland. Al-Farouq Amino's minutes have kind of been all over the place, but he played almost 36 minutes in their last game. Even if he plays around 32 here at a sub 5K price tag, it's a decent value option for a short slate. Mo Harkless played almost 24 minutes last game and lost about 4 minutes to foul trouble. We've seen in the past, not as consistently lately, but at times in the past, we've seen him actually used to defend James Harden and, do as well as you could expect. But if anything, maybe he picks up a couple of more minutes here at a really cheap price tag as well.
All right. If James Ennis is coming off the bench at 3,900 on DraftKings, is that someone that intrigues you? Now, he has actually started every game this season in which he has been healthy.
No, not really, because he's not going to be a high usage guy regardless of if he's playing with the starters or not. And if he's coming off the bench, then that just makes me feel worse about his minutes. So, he's basically the same price as PJ Tucker. They're similar in that neither one's a high usage guy, but Tucker at least is going to play more minutes and he's going to play closer to the basket, which gives him a better chance at, racking up rebounds. So if I have to go to one of those two, I'd rather go to PJ Tucker.
All right. Anything else from this game?
From the Houston side, Harden obviously at 10-7 is perfectly fine. Don't like him as much with Chris Paul back or with Chris Paul healthy, but it's a 3-game slate, so not a whole lot you can do. He's very likely to be the highest scorer on the slate, and that obviously gives him value. And the price tag isn't egregious. 10,700 is perfectly fine. We know he has upside there. Chris Paul's price is okay. I'd rather play Capella for 7,700 than Paul for 7,800, though. And Eric Gordon, you mentioned potentially getting the start. It wouldn't be great for his usage, but either way, he's only $4,500, and he should play 32 to 34 minutes here. He is clearly inconsistent and very scoring dependent as long as Harden and Paul are healthy. But I think the price tag is just too cheap for the minutes that he plays.
All right. Here's the details on the 24 days of giveaways. We're giving something away every day between now and December 24th. This is from Awesemo, the whole team at Awesemo to you for the holiday season. As we're going to go along, the prizes are going to change and they're going to get better each week, but you're eligible the entire 24 days. So what we've got going on now is the way you enter is if you leave a review and a rating on iTunes for any of our iTunes shows, and if you leave a comment on our YouTube shows, and hey, secret. You could probably do both if you really want to, for the podcast episodes anyway. If you leave a comment, today we're asking you to give us your favorite holiday song. Now, is that beginning to look a lot like Christmas, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman? Is it the Hanukkah song? Is it Turkey Dinner? Adam Sandler with a couple non-traditional holiday songs. Is it the Monster Mash? Is it the Purple People Eater? I don't care. Tell us what your favorite holiday song is, and you will be eligible to win a 1-month free pass to any sport of your choosing. And if you're at awesemo.com for the premium content, or if you're already an awesemo.com subscriber, you can have one piece of the amazing swag that has launched at the Awesemo merchandise store. If you go to shop.awesemo.com, you can check out the variety of things there. Adam, I think they have like 3 different hoodies and a couple different snapback hats. You should be able to clothe yourself for a whole week easily. Just order one of everything.
Yeah, I was actually looking at it today, and I was pretty impressed by the stuff that they have.
Cool. And I've got to say, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, so, and it certainly fits my daily wardrobe, so I will definitely be checking that stuff out.
There you go. But reminder, so go ahead and rate and review on iTunes. Leave a comment. Tell us what your favorite holiday song is. Same thing over there on YouTube. You give us a thumbs up and subscribe. We have over 9,000 subscribers now to the channel because it's a nice little alert to find out when we have these shows going on throughout the day, because we keep adding more and more content on the YouTube channel. All right, back to the basketball content. We have Phoenix at San Antonio. Adam was getting a good chuckle before the show when we were talking, because the Spurs are favored by 12.5. Wow, it's been a while since we've seen that. 218 over under here. Again, Phoenix is playing on Monday night. Got a couple guys dinged up, a couple guys sick. We'll have to keep an eye out for what's going on with their roster. But some intriguing plays from this game here. Let's for fun, let's start off with the Spurs, Adam, so we don't have to worry about injuries and such. We have Lamarcus Aldridge, Rudy Gay coming off a phenomenal game, and DeMar DeRozan. Those 3 guys are in a nice spot. They're all appropriately priced on DraftKings. I feel like $6,400 is perfectly fine for Rudy Gay, because he either plays like an $8,000 player or he plays like a $5,700 player. So they're splitting the difference there for us at $6,400, because you get about 1 out of every 3 games he's playing. He pops off for close to 40 fantasy points. Amongst their big 3, what do you like for the Spurs?
I mean, I think you summed it up pretty well with Rudy Gay. It's you can't play the guy in cash that easily at this price, especially on DraftKings, like FanDuel, where you have to roster 2 small forwards. It's obviously a bit different, but the minutes have just been all over the place for him. In good games, he plays 34 minutes, which makes him really appealing. In other games, he plays like 26 minutes, which obviously makes him too expensive. So that basically makes him a prototypical tournament play, where it is a really nice matchup against Phoenix. He does have upside. He also has a very low floor for his price tag. DeRozan and Aldridge, I think, obviously have much higher floors in very favorable matchups. I would lean toward Aldridge for, he's 1,100 less on DraftKings, so I think that's a little bit more appealing. But both of them, DeRozan up around a 30% usage rate, still doing a pretty good job picking up assists, though obviously not like he was at the beginning of the season. Aldridge in a favorable matchup against DeAndre Ayton, who not great at boxing guys out to rebound, not great at playing defense. So Aldridge should be able to do pretty well here. If Ayton were to sit, then I don't think Rashawn Holmes is going to deter Aldridge either. So I do like, the big 3 here for San Antonio.
All right. Well, we now know what TJ Warren's minutes limit was going to be for Monday night. It is 12, Adam, because he got 2 technicals and was tossed at the end of the first half, as the Clippers finally got a lead there with the late run against the Suns. So, hey, maybe that'll help him stay somewhat healthy, and we can count on him not being an injury designation there for Tuesday. Assuming
that's twice in like 10 days.
Yeah. I don't think he's at 15 yet for the mandatory sit-down, but I was going to go look up that next. But, yeah. Boy, so glad he's healthy. What is going on with the Suns? They're not even trying. They're not even trying.
I mean, they suck. Like, they have no talent. I mean, they have DeAndre Ayton, but when Moreland's out and Booker's out, like, what are they going to do? Like, you have Josh Jackson playing big minutes.
You mean a 19-year-old rookie can't put the team on his shoulders and do something with it? Gosh.
Right.
why did they waste that number 10 pick on him? So
Number 1 pick, right? Oh, are you talking about Josh Jackson or DeAndre Ayton?
Ayton. What pick was Ayton?
Wasn't he number 1?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I got that all backwards. Oh well, whatevs. Same thing stands. Number 1, yeah. What do you think you are, Markelle Fultz? There we go. Shout out University of Washington, one and done. Okay, back to the task at hand here. I'm guessing that Booker is going to be out. There is a decent chance that they will keep the similar starting lineup to. I'm just trying to look at what they have for their guards. So they did put Melton in there. They kept Melton in the lineup. Kobo's coming off the bench. So I assume if everything goes according to plan and nobody else returns healthy, it'll be Ariza, Warren, Bridges, Ayton, and Melton in the starting lineup. Amongst those guys going against the Spurs. Now, these are not the Spurs that we traditionally are used to seeing. They actually have time for guessing with Adam. Where on the season do you think the Spurs' defensive efficiency ranking is?
Second to last.
Close. They are 4th worst, so they are.
They were second worst as of like 2 games ago.
Well, let's just say 111.4 is Phoenix, 110.8, so 0.6 points per possession. So yeah, they can be in the churn, shall we say? So we will give you full credit for that answer, Adam. What do you like here for the Suns?
Well, and one really appealing thing also about taking guys against San Antonio is not only are they just garbage defensively, but on DraftKings where you have the dynamic pricing that lately has actually been pretty aggressive and it factors in the opposing defense. Clearly they are using some sample size larger than this season so far because guys keep getting priced down against the Spurs. And you actually kind of see it again here. Not as egregious. I mean, Ayton is 6,700, Warren 6K. Those are both basically where they have been. But Trevor Ariza is at 5K. 3,800 for Okobo, which is a little bit cheaper than he had been. So yeah, not as egregious on these guys, but in other spots you've seen like good players priced down against the Spurs, which has made it even better. Here, obviously keep an eye on DeAndre Ayton. If he's in, I have interest in him, but do keep in mind that not only is he dealing with the flu, but like similar to Trae Young, he talked about having hit the rookie wall. And so I think just he makes for a riskier play than he would have if we didn't know that. But no, he still has upside. TJ Warren, if he's good to go, then I think he's a good play as well. But I kind of assume that he'll still be on a minutes limit if he plays. So it just makes it really tough here. I mean, Trevor Ariza should play a bunch of minutes. Whatever he does with those minutes, who knows? If you want to take a chance on the Anthony Melton, that's fine. But depending what the Spurs starting lineup is, if Derek White starts again, he played 30 minutes against Utah. If he stays in the starting lineup and starts again, then I would rather play him for 500 less than Melton.
Yeah, and just kind of looking at some of these other cheap guards, we've got Troy Daniels in the mix. He's played 12 minutes in the first half on Monday night, but he's coming off 32, 22, and 21 minutes in the 3 games leading in to Monday night, and he has put up 20 fantasy points in all 3 of those. He is at 3,600. That, we're looking at a 6-team player pool. That's not very helpful. Marco Belinelli in the mix. He's healthy again, so he is at 3,500, and he's capable of putting up 20 fantasy points in a matchup like that. So that might be where you're looking at for your initial value, unless we get some big, exciting news somewhere. I think I would like all of those guys more than Patty Mills. Even though Mills gets more minutes, he never seems to top 20 fantasy points.
Yeah, just not a great per-minute producer. And with Derek White being back, it's kind of taken away those days where you suddenly get like 28 to 30 minutes from Patty Mills.
All right. We ready to move on to our last game of the night?
Yes.
This will be the outlier game, the nightcap. It's a 10:30 start. The first 2 start at 8 and 8:30 respectively. Sadly, I am still in the state of Washington. Well, not sadly for me, but sadly from a daily fantasy perspective, because I cannot play any contest that I did not enter before I arrived in the state. So I will not be back on the grid until Wednesday. But we do have Fred VanVleet coming off 19 points. Adam, that was the season-high points. And that's the last time we're going to mention him, unless we figure out what's going on with Kawhi Leonard. As we mentioned, we don't know for sure what's going to happen with Kawhi Leonard. He hasn't really played on back-to-backs yet this season. They're playing it a little bit coy as to what is going to happen. Let's assume Kawhi plays and break down the Toronto side here.
Yeah, I mean, if Kawhi plays, then it obviously makes the team as a whole less appealing because you have 30% usage going to Kawhi. You have Kyle Lowry very clearly taking a back seat there. So Kawhi would be a very good play, I think. He'd be, probably one of the three or four favorites to be the highest scorer on the slate in terms of raw points between Harden, Lillard, himself, and DeMar DeRozan. So I think he would be fine. But then you have like Kyle Lowry, who with Leonard on the floor this season is averaging like 0.9 fantasy points per minute, has a usage rate down between 17 and 18%, sees his assist percentage drop pretty significantly down to barely over 30%. The price tags really come down, which is nice. But with it being a 3-game slate, you'll probably see ownership on Lowry because of the price tag. And it's just a spot where he's likely to give you, 32 fantasy points and not really help you win. So kind of just a mediocre play there. I think whoever starts at center for Toronto is a very good play. The Clippers is just a soft spot for them. They're a good team overall, but you're talking about either Marcin Gortat, Boban, or Montrezl Harrell, some combination of those three guys defending Ibaka or Valanciunas. I would take the Toronto guy, whichever one in that situation. So hopefully it's Valanciunas since he gives us some value. He's only $4,800, but even if it's Ibaka, I think he's a pretty strong play.
All right, now let's assume that Kawhi sits. Now here's the reason he may sit. So depending on what he wants to do, these are both important games. Tuesday's probably more winnable game going against the Clippers, but the marquee game is going to be Wednesday, and that is when Toronto heads to Golden State taking on the Warriors. So I could potentially see Toronto wanting to come in full strength at that game and kind of see where they stand against the defending champs and front runners to make the finals again for the Western Conference. If Kawhi is out, clearly that's going to boost Lowry dramatically. Does it elevate which particular players does it elevate for you on the Raptors?
Yeah, I mean, if Leonard's out, then Kyle Lowry just gets a really nice jump. His usage goes up. His assist percentage goes up. Even though at times we've seen when he plays alongside Fred VanVleet, he kind of turns over the offense running portion of the position to VanVleet, and he kind of just hangs out on the wings. But the price tag is just so low that it would be really difficult to ignore him there. And his productivity does go up when Leonard's out. But also it would make Pascal Siakam more interesting. You get more usage, more rebounding, and more assists from him. Serge Ibaka's usage goes through the roof, up from like 22.5% to about 28% when he plays without Kawhi on the floor. So if Kawhi sits, it just becomes a spot where you can play multiple Raptors here, especially because they're playing at the Clippers, which is a good enough team that they should be able to keep this game close at home. So you're not worried about rostering too many Raptors and it blowing out. It just would become a very, very attractive spot if Kawhi sits.
Yeah. Now, the only reason we're spending a little bit more time on this is it's the last game. So if we don't have word on what he's doing, you're going to want to have a backup plan. Because there's only 3 games, you could relatively easily leave yourself a 2v2, but make sure it's the right 2v2 and have a plan to use up all of your salary. You don't want to leave a ton of it sitting there. Looking through his game log, here are the other times he has been in back-to-backs. November 20th, he played in Orlando, and then sat out in Atlanta. Okay, well, that makes sense because Atlanta was the easier win. On the 16th of November, he played in Boston against the Celtics, sat out the next night in Chicago. Well, of course that makes sense. Even without him, the Raptors won by almost 40 points in Chicago. The other couple times it happened is against the Lakers and then again in Utah. These were both road back-to-backs. He didn't play in either game. So I can't remember I don't think there was an injury because he played on both sides around it, and it was kind of a surprise. Oh, he was out on the 4th, and then he didn't play against Utah. And we're like, whoa, wait a second, what happened? So that was much earlier in the season, so conditioning could have been an issue. And then he sat out all the rest. He sat out on the road in Milwaukee, but then played at home the next night against Philadelphia on October 30th, and then reversed that. He played in Toronto against Boston and then sat out on October 20th against Washington. So it's hard to kind of infer what he's going to do here. I would like to think they're still going for wins because they've lost 3 of their last 4. The Raptors have, and they were coming off into that stretch on an 8-game winning streak before that happened. So we'll see. I mean, it's hard to tell what they're going to do. So odds are he plays one of them. You can create a story where it's either they're going for the win in LA or he wants to have the marquee matchup in Golden State. So just putting all that out there. Looking at, let's flip over here to the Clippers here. I wanted to see what Boban was doing in the game since he did get the starts. Through 14 minutes, he has 4 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, and a block. Pretty solid numbers in that. Do you think he gets a third start in a row if it's going to be Valanciunas on the other side, Adam?
If it's Valanciunas, I think he can. If it's Ibaka, they'll probably go with Gortat, I would think. Not that it makes a huge difference. Like, Gortat's not great defensively either, but I think Boban trying to deal with Ibaka would just kind of be a nightmare. So I think it's a total guess for me on what they end up doing there.
Okay. Let's move to the rest of the front court with, I say front court, but let's look at Gallinari, Harris, and Harrell. Amongst those guys, are you still good if it's Harrell coming off the bench? Does that improve his output in your mind, or would you rather have him in the starting lineup?
Yeah, I mean, he's fine coming off the bench. The price tag has come back down. We haven't seen really monster games from him in a while, but obviously the upside's still there. It's not a super appealing matchup. But yeah, if you get to Harrell, I think it's fine.
All right. And then Harris or our buddy Gallinari, either of those guys stand out to you, or are you going to let price dictate?
Yeah, it's price, which basically means Gallinari. They play similar minutes. They project similarly. Like, Harris, at an equal price point, I'd rather have Harris. But where Gallinari is close to $1,000 less expensive, I think you're better off just going with Gallinari.
All right. And then backcourt here for the Clips, a little bit of a mess. We do have Lou Williams at here's an alert. Lou Williams used to play for Toronto amongst the 6 other teams he played for. But Lou Williams coming off the bench, 5,300. He should be in the mix for 25 to 30 fantasy points. That's always solid. But then you've got Beverly, you've got Bradley, you've got Gilgeous Alexander. They finally, they bounced Teodosic, I think. So there's still 4 guys, Adam, and there's really three and a half guys worth of minutes here. Who's the odd man out? Where do you draw the line? Is it just Sweet Lou and Alexander for you, or are you willing to dip down in the mid 3,000s there on this short slate, looking at Bradley and Beverly?
So it's going to depend on news, because Lou Williams right now is in the locker room, and we don't have an update. So that's another injury thing to pay attention to going into tonight's slate. But if Williams plays, then I think Williams is interesting just because he's a volume scorer. He's relatively inexpensive and he can go off. And then Gilgeous Alexander is interesting just because he should play around 30 minutes. Matchup's obviously difficult, but the price tag is really appealing. If Lou Williams is out, though, then I would expect more minutes for Pat Beverly. I expect that they would go back to playing some Beverly alongside Gilgeous Alexander like they were when Avery Bradley was out. You would probably also get more Tyrone Wallace, which doesn't matter for our purposes, but it's just another body out there. So yeah, it really depends on the Lou Williams news. It's a bad matchup for all of them, but the price tag is cheap enough on Williams and Gilgeous Alexander that I would be willing to take a chance in tournaments.
Look at that. We got to give up to the second news on Lou Williams and TJ Warren. That hasn't happened for us in a while, Adam, on these podcasts. So, hey, breaking news. Now I know what it feels like. Tag it. That one's ours. No, actually, we weren't the ones that – well, we may be the ones that announced it to you, but that was not Adam breaking it from watching the game. It was a little help there from the interweb. A reminder, 24 days of giveaways. Jump on over there, give us a review and a rating on iTunes. Tell me what your favorite holiday song is, and you will be put in the drawing for your choice of 1 free month of any Awesemo Sports single sport package. Or if you're already an Awesemo subscriber, or you would just like some swag, go over there to shop.awesemo.com, and you can pick out any item of swag in the merchandise shop, and that will be shipped to you as your prize. And then everybody will be put into the grand prize drawing on December 24th for 1 free year of premium Awesemo content. Adam, any final words before we get on out of here?
Deep dive article should be out sometime around 3 in the afternoon. Deeper dive show with Lofty and myself at 6 Eastern, with it being an 8 o'clock tip.
All right. With that, gamers, good luck.